Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Every Other Day Unfiltered with Clarence. I know that's a very terrible intro, but that's what we'll have now. We'll have to manage it. On the last episode, I know I was talking about instant gratification, and I didn't want the episode to go beyond 7 minutes, so I was, trying to stay on a very shallow explanation of what instant gratification was or is and how it's been affecting me. So I made a list, like a note on my computer, because I realized that talking from my head is not ideal at this point. I'm growing old, so I forget stuff really easily. Anyways, so I'm doing this episode. This is like a part 2 to what instant gratification is, and I'm going to try to go as deep as possible. So I know I kept on saying instant gratification, but I never really gave a definition. So I'm going to give the lamest definition I can possibly give that I think everybody would understand. So instant gratification is basically that force or that energy, that need we feel in ourselves to achieve a lot, like do a lot in life, like create some kind of unrealistic expectations of what we want out of life. And I could give examples with how a lot of people my age or younger, like in their 20s, 19, actually younger, let's say 16, they already have this idea of I should be out of my parents' house by 20, I should have figured out life by 21, I should have made like a huge impact in the world at 25, have huge Instagram following and become an influencer in my career or something. And it's not entirely a bad thing. Like, it's very cool. It's great that we think these things. But I'll give you my life as an example. I'll tell you a very short story. So I graduated from uni 2017. I was 20. And the last week of January 2018, I left home. I went to Abuja to start life. I was still 20. And I had that drive. I had that force. Like, I wanted to be a lot of things. So I left home at 20. I went to Abuja, new city, new life. I got a job. And I had this unrealistic expectations for what I wanted out of the job. You can imagine, I'm just getting out of uni. I've not served, nothing. When they asked me what I wanted to pay, what I wanted as my pay, as my salary, I said 300,000 naira for a skill that I actually did not properly possess. Like, I was a terrible graphic designer at this time. I wasn't even sure when I applied for the job what I was going to be doing. It's that funny. But I had a lot of expectations, but I got the job. I was paid 60,000 at first. I didn't complain. And with all the expectations that I had for this job and where I wanted to be while I was doing this job, when I wasn't getting these things, I started getting depressed. I started hating my job. I started hating the idea of waking up and going to work. My depression went from just being mental to becoming physical. Like, it affected my health physically. And it started affecting my work. It started affecting my attitude towards work. And it was like that for me till I got fired, which was a very terrible experience. A very, very terrible experience. But I didn't notice that this was a bad thing until recently. But the thing is that it's not just for me. I'm not the only one who has this like huge expectations of what I want out of life. Like, you talk to people today and you hear someone saying, I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life. I'm not achieving what I'm supposed to achieve in life. And when you ask the person, like, how old are you? I'm 19. You are 19 and you want to be Okonjo-Iweala. It's not a bad thing to want to be her, but there's something you need to understand. Okonjo-Iweala did not become who she is today when she was 19. Like, you just got into this world like 30 minutes ago and you're already worried that you've not figured out life. It's not always like that. And something a lot of us need to understand is that we all exist in different timelines. What it will take someone 70 years to achieve might take you 30 years or more, right? What it might take someone, let's say, 15 years to achieve, like the person is 15 years old and the person is doing so much, might take you 35 years to achieve. So we don't all exist in the same timeline. So using someone else's timeline or life goals or life achievements rather to define the date of when you're going to become who you want to become is a very terrible thing, because when it doesn't work out, it leads to depression, like crazy depression. And that's why I keep coming to tell people, like, just ride on life, just live. Stop fighting yourself based on other people's timeline, right? It doesn't always work that way. If you ask most of the people older than you, and just like ask them, what were they thinking about when they were your age? If you are 25 or if you are 20, ask them to find out that you're worried about things that you're not supposed to be worried about, basically. That's just it. Like, there was a time on social media, it became a thing where people announced how they quit their job because they had terrible bosses. Basically, what they expected from their job wasn't there, so they quit their jobs. And, I want to chase my dreams. I want to go to somewhere where I'm appreciated. And when you ask this person, how long have you been working in this place? Like 6 months. You just got a job. This is your first time getting an actual job, and you want to be performing miracles. You want to be a short caller in 6 months. It's good that you have great ideas, right? It's good that you trust your skills, but there's something you need to understand. If you don't pay your dues, you can't call shots. You have to pass through the process, right? You can't just see a ladder and then jump to the top. You have to climb from the bottom to the top. So when you've been creating these crazy expectations of how you want your job to be, you just get your job today and in like 2 months, you ask for a raise. In like 3 months, you're like creative director or something. It doesn't always work like that. And when you've created these high expectations and then you get disappointed by life, you start getting depressed, you start hating life. And there's something a lot of us don't know, right? When you apply for another job, they always ask questions about your previous job. And when they ask you, why did you quit your job, your full-time job, after 6 months? What would you say? I hated my boss. Does that make any sense to you? If you ask your parents, how did they endure their bosses? How did they get to spend 10 years, 30 years doing the same job? And I know for some of us, when we hear our parents actually stayed in one job for that long, we say stuff like they didn't have the guts to pursue their dreams or something. But there's more to that story than that. Like, just ask so you find out. Just ask, right? And in my opinion, there's no such thing as a great boss or not. You just need to learn to pay your dues. I'm not sounding like a teacher. You just need to learn to pay your dues if you want to call the shots. Like, that's basically what life is. You have to go through the groundwork. You can't just wake up one day and then you'll be at the top. Oh, I actually wrote something here. Like, there's nothing great you can get to do in life if you don't pay your dues. Makes more sense saying it that way. Anyways, it makes more sense when you learn to take life really slow. Not really slow, like really, really slow. Like, just breathe, live life based on how it comes to you. Like, take every day at a time. You don't have to. It's okay that you make plans. It's okay that you have goals for your life. But don't make them so definite that when they don't come to pass or when they don't happen, you start beating yourself up. That's the basic way instant gratification destroys us. Because you've already had this idea of, I get things really fast. So when it comes time for you to work to achieve something, it becomes a problem. Actually, we live in an instant world. I said this on the other episode. You send a text, the person gets it immediately. Make a phone call, you order something from Jumia or Amazon, it comes to you immediately. So you are used to getting instant results. But when it comes to the things that instantaneousness doesn't really apply to, like becoming something in life where you have to actually get your hands dirty to achieve, we tend to get overly disappointed when things don't come as planned. Plus, I said it before, it's not bad to have these like heavy plans, right? Like, I'm not giving you an excuse to be lazy in life. What I'm telling you is just to learn to take life every day at a time. There's no rush, right? 20 is still young. 30 actually is still very young. And you don't have complete control over how fast you achieve your goals. Actually, you don't have complete control over the achievement of your goals, but you have complete control over how much you enjoy the process. And that's the beauty of whatever it is you're doing. Until you learn to enjoy the process, you won't actually, in fact, it affects consistency too. You know, when you start something, you are unable to be consistent. You give up, maybe because you're not receiving what you ought to be receiving at that time. Or you are using someone you saw on Instagram that grew really fast. You fail to understand that this person has been creating content for years and the person was never heard, was never seen. But after tweaking the content over and over and over, learning from their mistakes, all of a sudden they blow up within like 2 months. But to you only saw 2 months ago and currently, and you're like, the person grew in 2 months. If I don't grow in 2 months, I'm going to end. Instant gratification is affecting our consistency today. Because you don't get what you want on time, you give up. And it's crazy. You need to learn to enjoy the process. If not, you will never be consistent. So if you've gotten to the point in your life where you're worried that you are inconsistent, you should start understanding that consistency comes when you learn to enjoy the process. I have to say that again so I can make a very dope short reel out of it. Consistency comes when you learn to enjoy the process. Anyways, like I said before, you don't have complete control over how fast you achieve your goals or the achievement of your goals. You only have full control over how much you enjoy the process. So yes, take instant gratification out of your what's it called? Your mentality, and learn to enjoy the process. That's all. I don't finish.